Hello, 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 everybody. This is Dr. Renita, the founder and visionary of the Refining Life. And I'm going to do a little something I'm going to encourage you to do as well. I am going to this post, finding it on my Facebook page. And I am going to do what? Honey, do you know what I'm doing? I am sharing it. So I'm going to encourage you to do the exact same thing. Go to your page, go find the share button. I know some of y'all are like, well, what is this? Don't worry about what it is yet. Go ahead and just share it. I'm going to tell you because it's going to be that good. So just go ahead and type whatever you think your friends are going to listen to when you share and you hit post and you share it. Now that I've done that, I am Dr. Renita, once again, the founder and visionary of The Refining Life. And I am so excited to be with you again here on this second Sunday of March 2021 for Mirror Image. For those of you all who have not been keeping up with Refining Life this year, 2021, we have introduced some new things. And two of those things are broadcast shows. On the second Sunday of every single month, we do Mirror Image with Belinda Burt. She's been doing some great things. We've had some great conversations. We talk about your mirror image. What do you see? What do you feel? How do you speak to that chick you see in the mirror? And how do you dress that face that you see? How are you taking care of that skin? We talk about all of that on second Sundays. On fourth Sundays, we have the Sunday shift. And there we have a wonderful speaker come forth, and she talks to us about things to get our mindset shifted so we can go into our new week and even start to transition into our new month. So if you've missed any of that, know that you come right here to this Facebook page or over on our YouTube page. If you're watching live from YouTube, hey! You can go to either page and catch up on all of the episodes that we've had this year. They've been wonderful. They've been amazing. But we're going to go ahead and get into today. Are you ready to get into today? Ready or not, here it comes. Let me go ahead and add our first person today. Oh, you heard me say first. Just know we got a treat for you today. So first we have Belinda. Belinda's here.
Hello, Facebook land. And again, Dr. Renita, thank you so much for allowing me to participate in the Refining Life and be a co-host for the rest of the year, every second Sunday. So super excited to be here.
Yes, well, we are always excited to have you. Belinda, you have been rocking and rolling this year. We've had so much fun for the past 2 months. And here we are in month 3, and we have something special for you. Normally, you just see me and Belinda, and we kiki and we have a good old time. We laugh, we get serious, but we have great times. But today, honey, do we have a treat for you? I'm gonna go ahead and bring her in the room. Oh, here she comes! Here she comes!
Oh my gosh!
Lamonica!
Oh my
So
gosh!
I just clicked and shared. So Monica, if you haven't done the same, do the same. I shared it to some private groups. I shared it to my public page. So we are just so super excited to have you here today. And I am excited about the content that we are going to talk about today.
Yes.
So Renita, with that being said, do you want me to go ahead and introduce our lovely guest?
Please do.
Okay. So today we have with us Miss Lamonica Williams, formerly Miss Lamonica Brody. She actually married my brother. So we are sisters in love. Monica has been an educator for 29 years, intervention teaching, coaching. She is also a mentor, and she's worked in every facet that you can just about work in education, I want to say. She's been married for 20 years to my brother, Tony, who's an avid cyclist. He loves his bike and his dog, I think, more than he loves us sometimes. She has one man child. His name is Caleb. And one fun fact about Lamonica is that she was born in New York, but Southern raised.
Hello.
So nothing like Southern hospitality. Is nothing like growing up in the South. So I always tell people you can be a very well-rounded and very cultured person even if you grew up in the South, because I consider myself to be that. With no further ado, today we are going to explore happiness. Yes. Yes, we are so excited.
Welcome to the Refining Life family. We are so excited to have you and to speak about this topic, happiness, through the lens of our mirror image. So Lamonica, give us a little something about the topic. Talk, chat, and then we're going to have some discussion.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you guys for hyping me up. I'm sitting over in the back like, oh my gosh. So thanks for the hype introduction. I'm so glad to be here and to have this opportunity. And so when my sister-in-law, my sissy-in-law came in, I was sharing with her some things that I was doing, and she asked me to be her guest on today's show. I was very excited about the opportunity to be here. So again, thank you for having me here. And again, it's such a great opportunity. So the topic that Nate sent me that we were going to talk about was finding happiness with what we see. And so what I want to talk today about is your mindset. And so yesterday and this week when I was thinking about what do I want to do? I want to do a presentation. How do I want to talk about this topic today? And so all I could just, what came to me was just share your experience, your testimony about how your mindset affects or controls your happiness. So this year, a lot of people know that was the big 50 for me. I turned 50 this past September. And I was very excited. I remember when I turned 40, I cried. But when I turned 50, I was very, very excited because I looked at it like, oh, this is a new beginning. This is a new season for me. And so I started reflecting more inwardly on my life and what I wanted out of my life and kind of doing an inventory. And I really started thinking about happiness and the times that I really felt happy, or what is happiness. And, because you're at the big 50, you're in the middle. And so that was my catalyst for starting this journey into what I would call my happiness journey. And so, a lot of different things have happened to me that might be considered very, sad or traumatic. A few years ago, my father passed away from cancer. Some other, disappointments with maybe career and things like that affected me tremendously. And at times felt, probably as some of us always, have felt at one time or another, maybe depressed, down, and a little bit, just sad and like, where's my life going? What is my focus? To the point that I was probably crying multiple days through the week, just crying a lot. And, when you get overwhelmed by those negative emotions, those negative feelings, they pull you down, and if you don't resist it, it just continues to pull you down. And so I remember one day, I was supposed to have a hair appointment and it got canceled or pushed back or something like that. So I went to Target and I went to the book section, just looking around, and I saw two books that kind of jumped off the shelf. One was I Declare by Joel Osteen, and the other one was Change Your Words, Change Your Life by Joyce Myers. And those two books stood out for me. And I was flipping through the books, and it was talking about, speaking God's word, praying God's word over your life, declaring God's word over your life. And that sort of was the beginning for me of my mindset change. We're taught or have been taught, you pray, but to pray the word over your life. So that was sort of like the first, the catalyst for my journey into, what I would call my happiness journey. Here, I also have, I have a little sheet, a little write-up here, and the title of it is called 5 Key Thoughts for Your Happiness Journey. So basically what I'm going to do is just share what are some takeaways I came to based on my own journey to happiness. And so, as I said before, learning more about speaking and declaring God's word over my life, taking the scriptures and applying them to myself, and not just praying them, but declaring them and speaking them over myself. So happiness thought number 1 is words have creative power. What you say about yourself, what you speak out into the air has creative power. Now, Renita and Nate, if you guys want to jump in or anything, just let me know. I'm just going to keep going. Words have creative power. There is a particular power in declaring God's word over your life. You have to speak life over yourself. To me, that was one of the most powerful things that I learned, because if not, life is going to overwhelm you, overtake you. And so it doesn't even have to be God's word sometimes. If you're saying negative things about yourself, you're putting those things out into the atmosphere. So your happiness thoughts has to begin with what you think and what you say about yourself. If you're feeling depressed or sad or things like that, you have to take words and start. Some people say, well, that's just naming and claiming, or that doesn't work. But what that does, making those declarations, declaring those words over yourself is the beginning of changing your mindset. It's the first step. This is where your mindset change begins, with the words that you say and the things that you think. And if you think wrong, if you're thinking something wrong or negative, think about your habits and saying, I'm not going to say that. Learning to control those impulses to say negative things about yourself or negative things over yourself. So again, that was the beginning of my sort of, like, I want to say, and this has been years ago. So my happiness journey has been going on for quite a while now. Another thing that I would say, again, turning 50 I looked at it as a new season, and a new opportunities, new things to look forward to. But I also, again, started thinking about happiness and how we let situations in our environment affect our happiness, how we feel about ourselves. And a misconception that I have had, and probably some others have had, is that happiness just comes. Oh, this situation makes me happy. Oh, this situation makes me, it's just going to happen automatically. But that is not the case. You have to be intentional about your happiness. You have to plan your day to be happy. You have to get up in the morning with a purpose to say, this is going to be a good day, and this is why. And so that would be my happiness thought number 2. When it comes to your happiness, you cannot be passive. You have to be intentional and direct your thoughts, plan your day, predetermine your attitude. So for example, let's say if you're in a toxic workplace and there's maybe someone there that's negative, or maybe you have a boss that's giving you a hard time. You may not be able to do anything about the situation of where you work, but you can get up in the morning with an intention of saying, I'm going to predetermine how I respond and how I act to this day. And I have been in situations where someone might be rude or dismissive or not very friendly, and it would give me anxiety, or I would be nervous, or didn't want to, it make you sad and dreadful, and all of these have experienced all these types of feelings. But I listened to this podcast by this woman named Tanya Lee, and she said, you have to control your mind, your brain, your mind that sometimes doesn't want to be happy. It wants to go back to what's comfortable. And so when I knew I was going into that situation, I purposed in my heart, my mind, and I said, okay, no matter what this person does, I'm going to be happy and cheerful. And so I would say, good morning, good morning. And no matter how that person responded, or a situation where it was a negative or a toxic situation, how that person responded, I kept up my cheerful attitude. And I learned that I can influence the atmosphere or the environment by the way I carry myself, by the way I speak, and do not respond to things that in my environment may be toxic. And I would like to say, eventually that atmosphere changed. The person or the people became nicer, softer. It was because I was using what I had in me to influence the environment. And so again, you have to predetermine your attitude and your response when you can anticipate when you anticipate a stressful situation, even if it feels uncomfortable, someone might say, well, it feels fake. That's okay. It's okay if it feels fake. That doesn't matter, because what you're trying to do is to change what's going on inside of you. It's not really about that person. It's about you. So happiness thought number 2 is, when it comes to your happiness, you cannot be passive. You have to predetermine. And then as you grow along, it becomes more and more natural. You start to, what you're putting out on the outside slowly starts to become, you feel it on the inside. So that was one of the things that I learned, upon, like I said, I turned 50 in September. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting and just trying to, do some personal growth things and about ways I wanted to change my life. And that was one of the things I learned. You cannot be passive. You have to be intentional about your happiness. You have to be intentional about your joy. You cannot let the environment dictate to you.
Well, Lamonica, I want to just stop you after those first 2, because I know you got some more. But so this idea makes me think about we're taking it to the mirror image and going into how we speak and see ourselves from that moment. When you look in the mirror, for a lot of people, it is in the morning or whenever they first wake up and they decide to use the restroom, because eventually nature is gonna call you, gonna get up. And a lot of us have mirrors in our bathrooms. And that very first thought of the day, well, first thought after you move, I won't say it's your first thought of the day, because some people's first thought of the day is, I'm gonna hit the snooze button, or I'm still tired, I'm not getting up. That is your first thought. Oh, is that the alarm? Oh, I'm going to snooze. Some of us have 5 and 6 alarms set because we know ourselves well enough that we know alarm 1 is the pre-wake up to the pre-wake up to the pre-wake up.
That's me.
That is me. So we walk ourselves to the bathroom, and sometimes we look at the mirror right away, and sometimes we just look straight at the potty. We go to the potty, and then we have to get up and wash our hands, and that's usually a lot of people's first glimpse at their self during the day. And it's something about that moment. Someone's like, ooh, some people's first like, ooh, girl, you look rough. Oh, where's your makeup? Oh, your toothbrush. And, we have all these other thoughts. If we could, from the first moment we looked at ourselves in the morning, start that mindset shift. Because the refining life, we're all about shifting your mindset so you can lead a more positive and productive life. But if in that moment, 1, I'm going to choose to say something positive about myself. 2, I'm going to choose happiness for that person that I see. Today, you're going to be happy, sis. It's going to be a good day. We're going to intentionally do things or not do things that ensure that happy is our end result today. Having that intentionality from the start of your day can make or break a day. So I loved that you said that you have got to be intentional, but I just wanted to add a caveat to that. You can't wait to be intentional about your happiness. You can't wait until you're 50. You can't wait until you're 40. You can't wait until you get in the car. You can't wait until after your hair is done. You got to decide that the person that you see with the bonnet on or not, with the crust in the eye or not, with a slob string still right here, just slob evidence right here, she is still going to be happy today.
That's right.
Before I dress you up, before I comb you down, before I unpin you, before I take this bonnet off, before I even brush my teeth, you are going to be happy today.
Before I put lotion on the most important parts.
Right. The parts that people can see.
That's right.
Or the parts that get the most ashy. Before you do that, because no matter what, even if for some reason when you go to wash your face, you miss that spot, and maybe somebody see that you slept real good. That's always my sign. Oh, girl, you slept real good, didn't you? Right here. But before all of that, if you can choose happiness first, I think that you are, I tell people all the time, you better be happy I know Jesus, because Jesus saved your life and you didn't even know it. You didn't have to believe. I believed, and because I believed, and I fear the Lord. Your life was saved today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I chose happiness today, I am not going to yet have this moment with you. Because I chose happiness today.
Mm-hmm.
When I woke up this morning, before I even came out and said, oh, y'all need to eat breakfast, I chose happiness. And so thus, this is what I'm not going to do today. You see this smile? There's some other thoughts back there, but I chose this today.
That's right. Choose
and because of that, your life has changed. Just so you know.
So I have a question. I do have a question, Monica. So one of the first shows Renita and I did, just to kind of premise this, I don't know, Renita, if you remember, but we talked about the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about when you wake, and we talked about how people cover up because the image that you see in the mirror is really not the real you. It's a reflection. And
Right.
so one of the things that you said was influence the atmosphere around you. Eventually it changes. So what can you say to encourage the people to keep going? Because I think what happens in today's society, the culture that we live in, you know, we all are believers on this chat today. And I know some people don't necessarily believe like we believe, and that's okay. But I know within our belief, when we keep God at the center, that's what drives us. But how do you encourage people to keep at it, to keep going until that situation changes, and always keep that positive in the forefront when you don't want to be?
Right.
I would say you have to think it's not about them. It's about you. It's about and I think that's part of the I don't want to say wrong thinking we have about happiness. It's not about the outside situation. It's about you and how you handle it, and what's the change going on in you. Because that, to be honest, that person may not change. That person may not change, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? They may not change. So you can't put all your hope in that. You have to put the hope in that I can change. I can look at this situation differently. And then that's where the real happiness comes in, because it's not about the person or the outside situation. It's about the change that's going on in you, and the things that you see happening around you and inside of you. Because technically that person may, even though that might be difficult, and I can attest, I've been in situations where that's difficult, but what if that person doesn't change? And I'm gonna be honest and say, yes, I do get discouraged when I don't see that person change, or I don't see that situation change, or that situation or environment may still continue to be toxic. But the sweet part of it is it really is going to eventually change. Why? Because you're changing. And so another thing I have learned is, I don't know if you want to call it your energy, what emits, however you feel, it emits from you.
Amen.
So it and because it's coming from you, that's how the atmosphere changes.
Exactly.
If you're still focused on that person or that thing or that toxic, it has your mind. And I've learned is, if I'm so focused on this person who may be mean or whatever, they have my mind. I want my mind back. I don't want to be thinking about you being toxic. I don't want to be thinking about how, I want my mind back. So, it's really about your growth. And so another thing that I've learned is, if you are focusing on something else, or your personal growth or reflection, or being grateful or being thankful, or what plans you have, if you can't think about those two things at the same time, you can't be thinking about the toxic situation over here and be thinking about the good things over here. That's why people talking about the gratitude journals, is because those two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. And the more you focus on the positive, the less those feelings of dread and anxiety that you have thinking about this situation or this person, it lessens and lessens, because that power that it had over you because you're not giving it that power anymore.
You're not feeding it.
Yes, you're focusing on yourself. You're thinking about your growth. You're thinking about, well, how I'm gonna look good today, or you're thinking about going to exercise. You're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your growth or your goals. And I have learned, when you set your goals and reflect it back on you, your brain, your mind doesn't have time to think about this other person. And
well,
so
that's because you got some business. You got some business. It's because you got business. See, the issue with some people is that they are so busy minding your business. It's because they don't have any business of their own. They don't have gratitude. They don't have anything that they see that they should be thankful for. Your business, your life, everything about you is so interesting that they have chosen to not concentrate on their own stuff. Or maybe you're that person. Because you don't feel like you have enough going on. Now you are so focused on this other person or this other situation that you can't find your own happiness because you've chosen not to have your own business. So I love when people say, mind your business. Well, if you don't have it, how can you mind it? And sometimes you got to create some business, create the business of gratitude, the business of, okay, let me take inventory of what I have. So maybe I can focus over here and I can handle my business, which can be even the business of happiness.
That's right.
But you got to have some business of your own and some thoughts of your own, some things going on of your own. And it doesn't have to be these giant things. I think some people get caught up in that. I see Belinda or Nay, depending on who's talking to her. I do know that she is two different names. She's Belinda, she's Nay. Belinda. Belinda has some things going on, and because Belinda has some things going on, it's easy for her to tune out some things. Because Lamonica got a lot of great things going on. We're going to talk about that website in a little bit. You got some great things going on, and because of that, you can focus and refocus your attentions there and find joy and find happiness. Actually, not find joy, because joy, the world didn't give it to you. The world can't take it away, but you can find happiness over there. For those people who don't have their business and they need to intentionally focus on something other than the foolishness or the other people who may be stealing that happiness from them. Do you have any suggestions for how to get about or get some of your own happiness business going on?
So if a person so you're asking me if a person is feeling sort of stuck where they're focused on someone else other than themselves?
She's trying to be nice, but she's really trying to say they're being a busybody.
They being a busybody. They all in other people's business, and they're worried about what they're doing, to the point where they can't even look at their own life and find a spot to focus on, so they can stop focusing on foolishness or greatness that's not their own. And it's hard for them to find happiness because they are too busy in everybody's everything else.
I even think with that it's a personal journey, and until that person, if they're because there's a reason they may be doing that. There's a reason they're feeling that way, or it might be insecurity. It may be just bad habits they learned growing up, from other relationships and things like that. But sometimes it takes us a while to have that self-reflection that I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to, be in other people's business, or I want my own what do I have going on? So sometimes it's just a personal journey. So let's go back to the example of the toxic work environment. And you're the catalyst to say, you know what, I'm gonna be happy no matter what you do, because my happiness is about you. That's gonna impact that person. So even with that change in you may not have a direct conversation with that person, but your life, I call it the happiness lifestyle. I want to, let's make happiness our lifestyle. You're changing your lifestyle and your mindset and how you're handling that toxic situation. That person, they may never say it, but they're thinking about it. Like, how did she do that?
Right.
what caused that change? What's going on? They're going to be thinking about it. So even though you may not have a direct conversation with that person, your actions, your change is planting seeds in that person's life that may not crop up till later. But again, that's that person's journey. And you're on your journey. And your change will plant seeds. Your changes will change the atmosphere and change the environment. But again, it's not about them. So if somebody is being a busybody or focus on somebody else, that's their journey. And one day down the road, through the seeds maybe you plant or someone else plants, they're going to be like, hey, maybe, I saw a change in so-and-so that worked in my office. I don't want to be like this anymore. But in the meantime, it's about your journey. It's like, to me, the happiness journey, you got to be a little bit selfish. And the reason I say that is because as women, we give so much. We pour into others. We nurture others. And we feel guilty when we want to be happy. We think, and I know this for myself, it's like if you're not doing, getting your children the best of this and the best of that, or you're at this game, or you feel guilty and you put aside stuff for yourself. But we think happiness for ourselves, we end up feeling guilty about it. So your happiness is your personal journey. Mm-hmm. It's about you. And because it's not outside, because your situations outside may change, and I was going to talk about that later a little bit further down, but I love being a mama. Like, I love being a mama. I love, I have one son and I love being a mama.
And she got a bunch of nieces.
Yep. And I have a bunch of nieces, and just, we go, we've been on trips together, and we always at each other's house and all this other kind, and I love it. But guess what? One day my son is going to leave my house. My nieces, they're all around the same age. So my nieces, and my son, they're all close, but they're going to grow up and they're going to find their own path. And if I have to get my own happiness, because even though I'm very happy to be a mom and an auntie and all these types of things, and I'm going to be sad because those situations are going to change. We may not get to spend, the day of them coming over for sleepovers might end, and those types of things. But I have to be able to have happiness outside of that, even though that brings me great joy, and I love being a mama. And and lately I've been crying because my son is not crying, but my son is in high school now, and I keep thinking, oh, he's going to be a sophomore, then a junior, then a senior. He's going, so I'm already thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to be leaving me in a few years, and that change that's going to come with that. So I know that I have to have internal happiness separate from that joy of being a mama, of being an auntie, because that situation is not going to stay the same. It's going to change.
Yeah, I think that some of it we need to look in the mirror and tell ourselves we're more than that.
Yes.
I'm a mom of 4. One of them is gone. One of them left and came back. 2 more of them are going to go when their time comes, but I'm way more than just a mom. Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes as women, we choose a role and we wrap ourselves in it.
That's true.
And when we look in the mirror, we say that's who she is. Mm-hmm. The truth is she's multidimensional. And we need to embrace all of those things and all of her.
That's right.
And then, you know what? If, one of those roles is not going to bring us a lot of happiness today, maybe it's graduation day, or maybe it's drop your kid off at college day. We've done that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That role is going to bring me some tears today, potentially. But if I also embrace I am a wife who was going to have one less child in my house.
I love it.
I found my happy spot.
Oh my
gosh. I think we don't live in the moments of happiness when they occur. And what I mean by that, like, okay, so Monica, I'm going to quote somebody you're familiar with. Renita may not be. So there was a bishop in an organization we were part of. Bishop Bonner, Monica. I remember something he preached probably 20 years ago. And he said this, and it stuck with me. And I was young. And he said, why on earth would you let people that have 2 feet just like you kill you?
Mm.
And it stuck with me. And basically what he was saying, if you think about it, you become a dumping ground. Because the first thing women say, we were born to be nurturers. Oh my gosh, we're nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but read the Proverbs 31 again. People love that, but I don't really think they study it and read it. She was a multifaceted woman where
She
her
was.
husband and her children call her blessed. She wasn't idle. She was a businesswoman. She sold things. She bought land. I mean, you just really look at her. She took time for herself. She was a multifaceted woman. And I think today we allow other generations, other people of what womanhood, motherhood should be, trump us being that woman.
That's
right.
Because I can do it all if I want to, but if I don't want to, I don't have to.
That's right.
As long as I am taking care of those that God has assigned to me, and I can find happiness and joy in what he's assigned to me. And I think that's just it. We're not happy with what he has assigned to us. Because what Renita, you talk about them 2 grown boys. I know your 2 older ones are boys coming back and forth. And Monica, we're going to live that one day because Brenda's already said, she's like, Mommy, what's the closest school to the house? She knows she living real good up in here. She eats good. She got her own space and everything. So she just is happy as she can be. And she might leave. I don't know, but she's looking at schools that's close by, which is really interesting to me. So at the end of the day, I think if we focus on what he's assigned to us and we find joy in that we will have less time being a busybody. You know, I have people, my life is very complex. Monica knows this. Like, there's been 2 occasions where my in-laws have lived with us. And unfortunately, we lost my mother-in-law last year. And my father-in-law is with us again because he had a house fire and he's fine. But we've also noticed some health issues there that need to be taken care of. And we have other family that participate. But at the end of the day, my husband is his primary. And I have had people say things like, I just can't believe, girl, you a good one. I just can't believe you. And I'm like, why is it so bothersome to you? Do I look like I'm bothered? So it goes back to, Renita, what you were saying. People have built this little box for themselves. And guess who they've put in that box?
You.
They've put you in their box and they've determined, well, you got to quit that job. You shouldn't be working. Well, you shouldn't be running over here. You shouldn't be doing this and doing that. And you shouldn't be saying that. And I wouldn't have nobody over here at my house doing blah. And what happens is people they start designing your life. And I think once you decide, like, okay, thank you for the words that are coming out of your mouth. You smile respectfully. And then you share. Like I in turn find myself sharing, you know what? Well, I just don't believe God will put more on you than you can bear. But I also feel like he's taking you through this because he's teaching you something that you can help somebody else with. And it's like Monica says, I mean, I love it. You talk about influencing the atmosphere. I'm telling you, that stuck with me. I almost want a t-shirt that says #influence. Hey, all right. Yeah, I just might.
Environmental influencer.
Yes, and influence can mean different things to different people. Yes, yes. So Monica, not to hem you up because I know you got a couple more points that you want to get to. And if you are new to the show, we are talking about happiness. I see some other people have joined us, and we are featuring today my sissy in love, who has the most amazing website. So I put it in the chat. You need to go register. She talks about being happy, fine, and free. Okay. So this is Mirror Image, finding happiness with what you see. Thank you, Renita. This is awesome. And we'll try to share this document with you. So Monica, can you go ahead and take us through the other points?
Yes. All right. So happiness thought. We're on happiness thought number 3. Are you a perfectionist procrastinator.
Ooh.
That by itself, Monica, we could stop the whole thing right there.
Just shut it down.
Yes. Are you a perfectionist? And I'm going to say, yes, I am. And I'm working on it. And I think that was part of my journey after turning 50. So a perfectionist procrastinator is a person who you have all the intentions in the world. You have these goals, you have these dreams, you have all these wonderful things you want to accomplish, and you start the process and you get down to the wire, and then you get overwhelmed by anxiety and fear and something negative, and you just shut it down. And so you don't do it. And it's like a process over and over and over again where you say, well, no, I'll work on it the next time, or this isn't the time, this isn't the moment, this isn't the moment to do it, this isn't the time. And so the perfectionist part, you notice is the two words, perfectionist and procrastinator. So the procrastination part comes because of the strong desire to be perfect. Well, where is that desire to be perfect coming from? Well, you're probably trying to seek validation from other people, and or it's fear that if something isn't just perfect, what are people going to say? Is it going to turn out right? Is it going to look bad on me? What are other people going to think about me? And so you want to do it, but then you get bound by fear. You get bound by anxiety. And I can say that has happened to me, and they can attest because I talk to her sometimes. But that has been one of my issues that I have dealt with, because we all have wonderful gifts and talents, right? But we sit on them out of fear, or we don't do this out of fear, or because you think it's not going to be perfect. So you have to think about and say, are you a perfectionist procrastinator? And so do you feel so strongly that the goals you set have to be perfect, leading to feelings of anxiety and eventual goal abandonment? But what is that abandonment about? It's about fear. It's about fear of, sometimes my fear isn't even about validation. It's about, well, what if it turns out good? Then what am I going to do? What if it comes out and be really great? Then I got to deal with it being really good. Maybe I'm not ready for that. So it could be fear of it's not going to be good, or it could be fear of, oh, it's going to be good. Then what do I do? What doors is this going to open, or what situation is going to change? So when you are a perfectionist procrastinator, you have to shift your mindset to thinking action over perfection. And so what that means is it doesn't have to be perfect. Just take the action, take the step. Don't worry about it. Just do it. If everything is not perfect, don't worry about it. Set a goal, set a deadline. If you have something that you want to do, you're going to say, by the end of March, I'm going to do this. This is going to be done, whether it's perfect or not. And what happens is when you do that, it's like taking a step into the darkness. And when you get over to the other side, you're like, wow, this is good. This is not that bad. And so, Naya Renita mentioned my blog, and this blog, I've started this blog. It's been different names, different things at different times. And I've been wanting to do it for a while. And I actually had started it some years ago, and I've changed the names. And then for my birthday, I wanted to start it back up again. And so I hired a virtual assistant to help me get things done with the blog and all this other kind of stuff. And we had things on the calendar, and guess what? My perfectionist procrastination kicked in, and I dropped it. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. It's just too overwhelming. It's too this, it's too much, that. And I just dropped it. And I didn't really deal with it again until December, January 2021. And I said, you know what? I don't care how I feel. I'm going to do this. And I set a deadline despite anxiety, fear, or any negative feelings that tried to come up, or any negative situations that tried to come up. I said, I'm going to do this. And so I did it. Was it perfect? No. But the sense of crossing over to this other side and saying, wow, I did that. It's done. It may not be perfect. And to be honest, the blog, when I started it, it was my therapy. It was therapy for me. It was therapy for me to, reflect on things dealing with happiness, to reflect on even this perfectionist procrastination. It was more for me. I was writing it for me. It was my journey. It was me going through the process and the research and trying to find things to write and put on a blog post. It was my journey. And so I had the mindset, well, this is making me happy. And because it was for me, if it helped someone else, that was great, but that was not my intention. It was part of my journey to push me from, okay, over here on this side of being a perfectionist procrastinator. So I got to get over this hump. I got to get over this bridge. And so really the blog started out, it was therapy, my self-diagnosed therapy for myself. It was my self-diagnosed therapy for myself. And so that's how it really got started. And in times past, I have wanted to do other things. Like my goal at one point, I've been a coach before. So to be a coach and those types of things. But I said, you know what? I'm going to put all that aside and I am going to focus on me and things for me and, my personal growth. And so dealing with those fears, those thoughts and feelings of anxiety, and just stepping out there and say, okay, at the end of this week, I'm going to do this. It's going to be done, whether it's perfect or not. Help me with that. So again, the key point there is shift your thinking into action over perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. And what's that scripture that says, we move from faith to faith, or we move from faith to faith, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you take that first little step, you did it. And then now you have the faith to believe, oh, now I feel a little bit more confident. I can do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So what happens is if we never take the action, we're stuck. We stay in the same place, and our faith and our confidence to move forward doesn't grow because we didn't take the action to match what we wanted to do. We just stayed still. So if you are like me and you are a perfectionist procrastinator, take that step, ladies, take that step, take that action, and don't worry about it being perfect. Just do it.
Yes, I think that a lot of people, like a lot of different coaches and things have come out recently, and they're saying things like, do it scared, do it anyway, just do it. I mean, sometimes you just got to take the Nike point of life and just do it. A lot of people, especially people who desire to do things in excellence, find themselves in this cycle, this perfectionist procrastination. Like, you know what? Oh, I was going to put it out, but I saw 6 grammatical errors. I just can't do it. That's not me. I don't want people to think I'm that way. Oh, I was going to go do that live, but you know what? I couldn't find my makeup bag, and my goodness, my brows looked like nothing. I couldn't go on live and do it. And I was going to do this, but that. I was going to do this, but that. But I'm going to tell you that perfectionism, and I am a recovering perfectionist myself. I have been to the perfectionist meetings of one, but they still exist. But I just had to get over myself and realize that it wasn't even just the perfectionism, needing it to be perfect, but I let that take control over my goals. Like I just would not and could not be able to achieve certain things because I was it had to be perfect. It had to be perfect. And then I had to speak self, and myself said, and I said, self, do you want to get anything done?
That's right.
Like is it which one is more valuable? Is it more valuable to be perfect, or is it more valuable to get the job done?
To get that job done.
I'm even saying benefiting others.
I'm gonna even say with Nate, because I'm an introvert. I'm not a severe severely introverted, but I would describe myself as an introvert, extroverted introvert, or introverted extrovert, which I love people. I love being around people, but I also like being by myself. And so when they said, "Oh, I want you to do this," and my initial reaction was like, but I said, nope, I'm changing my mindset. And I'm another thing that perfectionists, procrastinators do. We got to know the details. Okay, you got to tell me everything. What time is it going to start? When is it going? You have to know every little thing and I think that's also part because I am a teacher or have been a teacher for so long. Our day is so scripted. Our lesson plan, so everything is just by the book. To step outside that box can be kind of scary because in my profession, everything has to be planned, organized, on point, ahead of time. So not knowing a schedule, not knowing what's going to happen, that's scary. So, but when she asked me, I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I didn't think about it. I just said, I'm going to go with it. And, it's just going to be what it's going to be. And I'm going to take advantage and I'm going to live in the moment and live in this opportunity. So I had a different mindset. Normally I'd have been like, well, Nay, I think I got a doctor's appointment. And she would be like, it's Sunday. You don't have a doctor's appointment on Sunday. But
you know what, Lamonica, can I pour something into you even as an educator? Because I am an educator by trade as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have also been a school principal. And I think that this was one of the hardest things for my teachers to do when I told them, you have freedom. I spent 5 years with some educators, and I spent years now also with Refining Life, because part of the Refining Life is releasing shackles.
Mm-hmm.
And as educators, sometimes we find ourselves needing or desiring even to be so regimented that we are unconsciously shackling our students as well.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's good.
I want to encourage you to, some days, though you may have a block for something, maybe it's your reading block or your math block, whatever, and allow your students and allow yourself just to do something like have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This is totally off a book. But sometimes those are the times when we get the greatest lessons taught. Mm-hmm. We learn the most as educators when we allow ourselves to go off script. It doesn't have to be every day. I know that is just too far. There is a curriculum that needs to be.
I posted a quote, Renita, recently that said, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. Mm-hmm. Because our next generation, they're looking at us. Monica can attest because we grew up in the same church. We always looked at the generation that was ahead of us. We always did. And then there were those behind us that looked at us. And my pastor's granddaughter, actually Monica is Phoebe, she said, I was always watching you and Monica and Priscilla and Stacy and all these people. And I was like, man, if they can go to college and do well, and they can get out and they can get their own apartments and their own houses, and they can travel the world and they can do this, oh my God, I can do it too. And she told me this when she was a grown woman, but I had no idea that she was watching like that. So someone's always watching and they're always looking. And I remind people that my children are watching them. My kids are watching you. They're admiring you. So not saying you can't mess up or you can't slip up, but they want to see, what kind of goal-getter are you? Mm-hmm. What kind of happiness are you creating? Are you walking someone else's walk? Are you talking someone else's talk? Like, I've never been shy ever. And I'm extroverted. I heard Monica say she was more introverted. Now I'm gonna be honest, when I want to be home, I want to be home, right? But Renita and I vibe, like, as soon as we met, it was like instantaneously, right? So like our kids even like each other, and I'm gonna tell on us, Renita. So when COVID first hit last year, Renita came by here to pick up some product, and Rain ended up staying. She did. Because I just couldn't tell her no, right? So we had all been quarantined.
Can I still play?
Yeah.
Can I be thankful? I was like, you know what? I am not fighting you. You haven't seen other humans in a while. These are safe humans.
Yeah,
Say.
so we kind of broke the protocol. Normally I don't do that, but I hear what Renita's saying to you. She's saying it's okay to break the protocol.
Mhm.
It's perfectly okay to break that status quo, because that's 90% of women's battles. We worry about what other people think. We worry about how they process us.
That's
Well,
right.
if you processing me in the wrong part of your brain, that ain't my problem. That's yours.
Right.
I've always felt that way, but I've always maintained a level of respect for others. And even when you disrespect me, I have this mantra that I live by. If you come at me and you try to pull me down into your negative conversation, you try to get me to start swapping words. I learned a very long time ago, my power is walking away.
That's
It's
right.
so much power in that. It's so much power in not arguing and saying something back. Being in those toxic situations, which the conversation in the moment is not going to be a healthy one.
Right.
So I opt to take the high road. And a lot of people have problems with taking the high road. They see it as weakness. No, it's strength. And
Yep.
God is making you in those situations, and he's growing you and he's grooming you. And I'm grateful, because it's so funny. Like, my husband had to speak today at church, so y'all are like all in what he talked about. Like, he was talking about taking a step and sticking to God's word and not letting others come in and change that, right? So respond, don't react. Sherry, that is so right. Respond and don't react. So it's a catalyst. It's like, for every action there is a
Equal and
reaction.
opposite reaction.
There's
Yes.
an equal and opposite reaction. So you get to determine if it's happy fizzy bubbles or if it's gray.
That's right.
Right. And so, ladies, we are coming up on our last 2 minutes and some change, because I try to be very respectful. I never knew when we started this how long the program was going to be, but at this point, I say it's about an hour.
Yes, it is about an hour.
We are coming up on the end of our hour, and I know, Lamonica, you have some other points on your sheet. But what I'm going to encourage everyone to do, what I'm going to work to do, is get this sheet up on the Refining Life Facebook page. And so I want you to go there and download it from there. But what I also am going to encourage you is to go to Lamonica's website. Go there. There is so much happy greatness on that page. So much happy greatness. And I need you to register, and I need you to go check it out. And I need you to download some of these things, and I need you to read these blogs, because like we do with so many things with the Refining Life, we learn through the experiences and journeys of other people. How did you get to this place where you are now, where you went through this journey? You did not just arrive this morning, and that your happiness thought wasn't, oh, I'm going to have a blog and I'm going to have a website. That didn't happen this morning. That happened months ago. And that those thoughts for that to happen happened months and years before that.
Yes.
And so we are learning through your journey. And I am so grateful for you being open and honest and vulnerable and taking the risk of even telling your stories so that we can learn happiness through them. So, Lamonica, I'm going to ask that you share your website with everyone verbally, for everybody watching live or either on hashtag replay, here on Facebook and on YouTube. And if there's any one last thought, just one last thought that you would like to share with our audience today, what would that be?
My blog is called Be Happy, Fine and Free, BeHappyFineAndFree.com.
Fine and free. Hello. Happy, fine and free. Yes.
Is a blog, and on there you can find affirmations that have posts about, pretty much some of the things I talked about today. There's a gratitude journal on there it's a 31-day gratitude journal or gratitude log that you can start using. So one of my goals is to provide digital content for the people who subscribe to the blog, things to help them on their happiness journey. So there are several examples of affirmations, and there's also a gratitude journal. So, as part of my therapy, but also I want to provide tools for people to help them on their journey. Yes. And then my last thought is, it says, when you look in the mirror, the first thing you may see and notice about your image are the flaws, the hair out of place, the blemish, the extra pound. But in the same mirror image are things you can't see, like your gifts, your talents, your dreams, and your strengths. You also can't see God, who is always there. In that mirror image, you may not see all the possibilities for your happiness, but they are there.
Mm.
Did I get picked out? Right
Love
there
No,
inside,
you
right in
here.
front of you.
You are still right here.
Okay. They are there, right there inside of you. So even though when we're talking about the mirror image, you can't see, you might see the flaws, you're focusing on the flaws, but also in that same mirror image are the things you can't see, your talents, your gifts, your strengths, your dreams, God standing there right beside you. So let what you can't see drive you more than what you can't see.
Ooh, honey.
Girl, I can't write fast enough.
uh, uh, if we could be more motivated by the things that we can't see, just based on faith, based on hope, than the things that we can, because a lot of times what we can see are the imperfections and the devastation and the things that could be worrisome. Just be focused on the things that we can't see and have hope in that.
Mhm.
I know we
And
got
that'll
victory
really help
right there.
right there. Well, I will say this, Lamonica, I thank you so much for
Having me.
taking the risk to
Ooh,
come
girl.
here with these two folks. After hearing your story, I know that you did not enter here lightly. And so just know that you are appreciated and that your story was needed, is needed, and that you have positively affected lives and shifted mindsets today.
Yeah,
I'm
So
glad that.
know that
absolutely.
this was not fault. This was not without reason, without
Mhm.
season,
Mhm.
and that you are successful today.
I appreciate it. And I've enjoyed being here. Especially when the
And
Lord was like saying, I was like, I want to do a presentation. He was like, no, just tell your story. Just tell your story. So the teacher in me wanted to do a PowerPoint
I
presentation.
know, it's hard. As an educator, I had to release some things in doing these lives. I started back in 2019 with a different live, and actually it's back in 2020 one. But I had to release, and I just had to learn to tell the story.
Mhm.
There was power in the story.
Mhm.
he was simplifying both of you because I told her, I said, we come on unscripted.
Yes.
Mhm.
So people can see, like my chaos was going on downstairs. I had started dinner and I left others to finish it. So I'm up here texting while we're on here. Hey, did y'all take the potatoes out the oven? Did you put the cabbage out of there? Blah, blah, blah. Did Daddy take the food off the grill? So at the end of the day, I love the fact that people get to see all of us in our real, because this is our
Right.
real. And Monica, I love you. When you started Speak Life, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it fizzled. But I just kept encouraging her, Renita, because she is an amazing creative. She is an amazing creative. And there are so many of you that are amazing creatives. There are so many of you that have amazing talents that you have not unleashed. I'm a big Marvel fan, and then I know we're going to end. So I love to quote when Charles Xavier told Jean in X-Men, Jean, release your power. So you might not watch Marvel and be into
I
that kind
do.
of stuff,
I do.
but I
No
do.
fan.
I couldn't help it because my brother's 2 years older than me. Monica knows, like, we are big Marvel geeks and Star Wars and all that stuff. But unleash your power is so much in you that God wants to use. And Renita, again, I thank you for this opportunity that you thought of me. And she said, Belinda, I want you to do every second. I said, me? And I'm just grateful because I really believe that God is orchestrating this and he's working through it. So if we've been able to help you today, if you've been able to find some happiness and some joy today with us, we would love to hear back from you in the chat.
Yes,
This
yes.
will be on the Refining Life page. So just go back over there, share, and check it out.
Yep. So it's on YouTube and Facebook. Catch up on the old ones, replay and rewatch this one because it was so much here that the reflection is real. So come back and watch again. So know that Belinda and I will be here next second Sunday right here on Facebook and YouTube. So check us out. Keep up with us. Lamonica, once again, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. You have shifted mindsets And everyone out there, remember to always, always, always keep your mind refined. We love you very much, and we'll see you next second Sunday. Bye.
Bye.